The absolute greatest threat to our community is population loss through death and imprisonment. This loss is the greatest threat to Black people in this country. There is no greater threat than this, which is why we ask you to join us in helping to save a life. We want you to help us stop the death of Black women through murder and breast cancer, through our Breast Cancer Initiative. Secondly, we want you to help us stop the death of Black males through suicide, and stop the influx of Black males into prison through our Wall Project. Did you know even pimps are committing suicide? The imprisonment of Black men and the death of Black women due to breast cancer are devastating our community. Please note the news organizations in this country are not reporting on these subjects. We need a people-powered moment to combat these occurrences. If we join, we can be the catalyst for this movement. The death of one woman to breast cancer from our community is one woman too many. The death of a woman affects every fiber of our community. July 2020, Cornelius Frederick, age 16, was murdered by the state of Michigan because he threw a sandwich. This child would not have been in that facility if his mother had not died months earlier. After the attack, the nurse did not call 911 until 12 minutes after the restraint ended. That let you know what the nurse thought about this child. Cornelius Frederick was not a delinquent. He was put in the facility by a social worker, instead of with family members or a caring family that wanted children. Make no mistake, our children are brutalized in state care. 3 people were charged with manslaughter, but nothing else has been reported, so the staff member will get away with this crime. The only reason why these state workers were charged is because the coroner ruled the death of Cornelius Frederick a homicide. The prosecutor was forced to charge them. Remember the Missouri prosecutor. He did not want to charge the police officers. The officers were charged when the state attorney general took over the case at the behest of the governor. These people will not do a day in prison, just like the 3 white boys who threw a rock off a bridge in Vienna Township and killed a motorist. Their record will be expunged. They will not have to pay court costs. They will be able to get jobs, go to college, and go on with their lives as if nothing happened. They told the court they were sorry. Black people do not get this consideration before the courts. Paying court costs keeps people ensnared in the criminal justice system for life. Ask the American Civil Liberties Union. Court costs allow people to be arrested repeatedly and continuously harried by the police. What felon can find a job that will pay enough for him to maintain himself and pay court costs? This is the trick that was used in Florida to keep felons from voting. The courts heap such large costs upon defendants that they can never get out from under these costs to vote. A Republican idea. Breast cancer should be discussed until it is no more. Fear must be faced. We must stop Black women from dying, leaving vulnerable children behind to be abused in foster care. We do not think for one second that we are over-dramatizing the situation. We are not. We are armed with information. We have reams of documentation on how Black children are prepared for prostitution while in foster care. How Black children are raped in foster care, both male and female. We have reams of documentation of how Black males are prepared for committing burglaries while in foster care. And if they survive foster care, they are thrown on the street without any support so they can continue their life in prison. We should not wait until October to discuss breast cancer in women. This disease should be discussed every day of the week. Why? Because there is a woman you know that is walking around unaware that she has breast cancer, and that woman can be your mother, sister, etc. Breast cancer starts years before the lump is noticed or found. To those of you who are preachers, undoubtedly at least one of your parishioners who listen to your sermon each week has the disease. Read the short essay, Children Left Motherless. For every woman who is murdered or dies from breast cancer or HIV/AIDS, there is probably a child left behind. That child will be raised by a relative or placed in foster care. If placed in foster care, the child languishes until adopted. As you continue to read, you will learn the fate of several young girls living in foster care homes. Children who have lost their mothers do not always fare well in foster care, even if adopted. Parentless children suffer. How would you like to be told your mother was murdered because your father was angry that the court gave her custody of you? How would you like to be told your mother died of breast cancer and you will never see her again? These children suffer from being left behind. Society has yet to deal with the children who are present during murder. How many people do you know who has received therapy due to the death of a loved one? It does not matter how many uncles, cousins, sisters, or brothers a child has. Nothing takes the place of a parent. The function of a parent to give a child a feeling of security, homeostasis, and placement. No individual can take the place of a parent. The parent is the rock for the attachment of the child. A parent is the child's strength. A child can say no when a parent is present. The child can make choices and negotiate when their parents are present. Their sovereignty is taken away from them when they are motherless. Parents are the resolution of life for children, and no child should be made to live without his or her mother. Do not count on the state to place your motherless child with one of your family members. Placing children in foster care has become as profitable as placing black men in prison. This nation apparently does not understand or does not want to understand the devastation visited upon society when the mother is missing from the home. Children need their mothers, and they should not have to suffer all their lives by having their mothers taken away from them. There has been enough posturing by politicians and drug companies in this country for the past century. If Rogaine can be developed for male baldness and drugs to treat AIDS to protect males, surely breast cancer in females should not be far behind. The problem of violence against women and women dying of HIV, AIDS, and breast cancer must be solved. Living without a mother is worse than living without food or water. Social scientists can design thousands of grieving programs for children who have lost their parents, but nothing will replace the pain and void a child feels in not being able to see his or her mother again. There was a man sitting in a bar during a fundraising event. When he learned money was being collected for a little girl because her mother was recently murdered, he openly wept in that bar. He said the child's life would never be the same. He knows because he had to live without his mother. Do you realize how powerful the pain inside this man was for him to weep openly in a bar? He was not only crying for that child, he was crying for himself. There is too much unresolved pain left behind when a parent dies. The murder of a woman is not an isolated event, nor is the death of a woman from HIV, AIDS, or breast cancer an isolated event. These deaths have a rippling effect. Thousands and thousands of people are affected by one death. Murder is a scar on society. It is a signal that a conflict cannot be resolved. Women should not have to live in isolation, fearing for their lives. A concerted effort should be launched to educate young males that women are not objects to be won or own. Young males should be taught women are sovereign individuals who own their own bodies. Women have equal rights to determine their destiny. Society should also recognize the waste when a woman dies of breast cancer. The reason why the decisions you make regarding your safety and your health are so important is because you are a mother, and you are the only natural protector of your children. If you make the wrong decision regarding your safety or health, your children will be left motherless. A motherless child is the most wretched person in the world. Understand this. Motherless children must do as they are told. They have no negotiator and no sovereignty over their bodies. The children that survive foster care are dumped onto our city streets with no family affiliations, support, or hope to begin a future. What are they to do? They are poorly educated and bruised and battered emotionally. Predators spend their days looking for motherless children. Motherless children are profitable. The predators use the naivete of motherless children to their sexual and financial advantage. The motherless children are obliging because they have been trained to be conciliatory all their lives under the foster care system. Our society has moved so fast in the last 50 years that it is not considered those among us that are living in pain. The casualties are accumulating in our cemeteries. Many of these individuals were motherless children. It is not fair for you to leave your children motherless, regardless of what society or your girlfriend says with respect to your responsibility towards your children. You are intrinsically linked to the destiny of your child's life. The responsibility of a mother toward her child cannot be abdicated, so every time you consider your safety, you must ask yourself, have I placed myself in a situation of danger, talking too much, by my decision or my failure to respond to a dangerous signal? If you choose to ignore this warning, or if you feel insulted by our insolence, the next time you hear a child cry, stop and listen to the wailing when the child cries mommy. Do not leave your child motherless by ignoring your health. One of our campaigns is to get the word out about motherless children and why women must fight to stay healthy for their children. Here are a few short stories of motherless children to see if these stories do not motivate you to stand up and help. Doris Ann McLeod, age 16, was placed in foster care. A pimp lured her from a bus station. He got her to prostitute once or twice, then she refused. When she became adamant and wanted to return home, he took her to the basement, hung her from the pipes, and beat her to death. He did this in front of his 3-year-old son. The man is now serving life in a Wisconsin prison. DOC 00387959. Parole eligibility date 05/01/2079. The judge ordered that every day on Doris McLeod's birthday, the man is shown a picture of his victim. Sherry Canterbury, age 11, lived in a foster care home in Lynn, Massachusetts. February 24, 1980, she was strangled to death after arguing with an 18-year-old male living in the group home. After she was murdered, her body was placed in the trunk of his car. He drove around for 2 days with her body in his car. Brittany Scott, age 5, was murdered while in state custody. Her foster care provider beat her to death in January 1993. A 12-year-old foster child in Essie Scott's refused to return home from school, saying that her foster mother had been beating her. The girl told social workers that Miss Scott had hit her because 2 cans of peaches were opened and left in the basement, and that she and other foster children were beaten with extension cords after their clothing was removed. Ariel Catherine Shaw, 19 months, died in a Georgia foster care home January 26, 2000. Kevin King, 20, was convicted in 1992 of the death of Patricia Urbinski, 15. She died of blunt head trauma, strangulation, and stab wounds to the chest. Kevin King was raised in foster care. Wendy Joy Denseru, age 19, and a mother lived in Worcester, Massachusetts. She was strangled to death in a home on March 18, 1980. A hotel employee found her body. She was raised in state foster care. Lamarcus Davidson, 28, of Knoxville, Tennessee, orchestrated 2 of the worst murders in state's history. He was sentenced to death in 2010. He was raised in foster care apart from his brother. 2-year-old Isaac Lethbridge died on August 16, 2006, because child welfare caseworkers took him from his parents and placed him in an unsafe foster home environment. He was beaten and burned while in state custody foster care. His foster, Charles C. Adams Rogers, 59, is on trial for manslaughter. Jasmine Davis was 15 years old when she was beaten to death. On September 2, 2008, police found the dead teenager and her brother in their feces and urine-soaked bedroom, where they were often locked in a closet for days, every month. They looked starved and emaciated. They were about 80 pounds, give or take a few pounds. It was as if they had come out of a concentration camp. It was that bad. The list goes on. Every year, foster children run away to escape only to be found prostituting and or murdered. A foster child running away is an ongoing problem. At the age of 18, foster children are dumped on the street without family or friends' education or resources to support themselves to begin a life. This is frightening. Volunteer to reduce the number of women dying, thereby reducing the number of children entering foster care. We do not need any more children in foster care. They are prone to victimization. We must now join to fight and stay healthy. You decide. Do you want your child standing over your casket crying? Or will you join us and fight against breast cancer? Join our breast cancer campaign and help save a life. Go to our websites, https://christianbooksellers.net or https://touchedbythelight.us and download our free brochure, Breast Cancer and Black Women. Read the brochure several times, then email this brochure to 5 women asking them to do the same. Then purchase our books to help us help other women. No one should lose their life because of lack of knowledge. Make a point to attend all our conferences to learn more how you can change yourself, your community, and other women. As far as black males going to prison, every week, a minimum of 3 black males in one trial are sentenced to prison in every large city in America. An example: Kobe Moa, 25, Jermaine Graves, 24, Marcel D. Washington, 23, Mark E. Bundy, 23, Gregory E. Ray, 23, Jesse L. Bell, 22, Antoine E. Boy, 24, and Dorian M. Ray, 22, all convicted in one trial. The longest sentence meted out in the trial was for 35 years. The shortest sentence was 16.5 years. In D.C., There was a second federal trial that eventually landed more than 25 black males in prison. The men had their own hit squad, 13 dead. They made the mistake of killing 2 black women who were sisters, who triggered an investigation. 2 men faced the death sentence. Remember, the United States Attorney General must approve all death penalty charges. On August 13, 2021, it was reported that Kwame L. Edwards, 32, Javen L. Doyle, 31, Ahmed R. Watson, 30, and Rasha D. Dooley, 28, were indicted on 15 charges each, a list that includes homicide, first-degree murder, and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The man they are accused of murdering was Christopher Cummings, 20, who was killed on June 10, 2011 in Norfolk, Virginia. The college student was found dead in a home when police responded to reports of gunshots. His roommate at Old Dominion University, Jay Carey, was wounded but never recovered. I know you recognize the name Cummings. Christopher Cummings was the nephew of late Maryland Congressman Elijah Cummings, chairman of the House Oversight and Reform Committee. It took investigators 10 years to find these men. Surely they will be convicted because as time goes on, witnesses are much more likely to talk. Soon, 4 more black men will be entering prison in 2022. Yep, convicted. Oh yes, black males are being convicted of killing children during their shootouts in the streets. They shoot indiscriminately, not caring who or what they hit. Our wealth is being stockpiled in prison. Studies have shown that men are an essential resource of a community. Without men in the community, children are destabilized, especially male children. The destabilization leads children to errant behaviors, especially sexual dysfunction. Black children will rise from poverty when their fathers raise them from poverty. When their fathers own their own businesses and when their fathers create products for the market from the visions of their minds. The car was a vision in someone's mind. The train was a vision in someone's mind. The computer and microscope were visions in someone's mind. These inventions came out of the mind and into reality through the will of the inventor. The only difference between the white male inventors and the black man's vision is the black man's creativity cannot be harnessed because of his lack of education and nascent problem-solving skills. This can be corrected, thus the Wall Project. We must understand that sociological studies by master's and PhD candidates can be used for good as well as for bad. These studies can be used by men in society to correct some societal ills, or these studies can be used to exacerbate problems in society. The Nazis in Germany were known to manipulate data from such studies to justify their racist programs. Remember, years ago, black males who did not have the propensity to attend college were directed to Northern High School or the Wilbur Wright Training School on Grand River. This technical training helped stabilize the black male by giving him a trade and providing hope to the community. Those black males who did end up in prison were given training in prison to prepare them for work when they left prison. In 1991, the Republican governor John M. Engler did away with this prison program, thus Michigan's high recidivism rate. The lie was told that the state was saving money. This is what President Barack Hussein Obama II said in the State of the Union address in 2015. To make sure folks keep earning higher wages down the road, we have to do more to help Americans upgrade their skills. America thrived in the 20th century because we made high school free, sent a generation of GIs to college, and trained the best workforce in the world. We were ahead of the curve, but other countries caught on, and in a 21st century economy that rewards knowledge like never before, we need to up our game. We need to do more. By helping us with this project, you can save a life. If you would like to do more, we need people to go online and collect the names and email addresses to black organizations all over the country. Please email us this information to yathril11@netzero.net. We want to ask their help in getting the word out about breast cancer. We know there are women out there who will help us with the Wall Project. Help us reach them.